Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the new movie Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. This movie is directed by Wes Ball, whose most noted films are the Maze Runner trilogy. If you end up enjoying this video, please consider liking and subscribing. That way the world doesn't get taken over by apes. The synopsis is as follows. Many years after the reign of Caesar, a young ape goes on a journey that will lead him to question everything he's been taught about the past and make choices that will define a future for apes and humans alike. So without further ado, let's get into the 6 things that make a movie great. 1. The plot. At the beginning of this movie, we are introduced to the character of Noah. Noah is a young ape who belongs to a clan of monkeys that raise and train eagles. That's pretty awesome. But while Noah is out and about, he unintentionally allows an enemy clan to follow him back to his own. Many of his clan are killed and the others are enslaved. Noah barely escapes with his life and now becomes hell-bent on getting his clan back by any means necessary. I was really wondering how this franchise was going to feel after the death of Caesar. And after watching this movie, I still don't know. And I think Noah is a decent character himself, but he's no Caesar. And honestly, to me, this movie felt a lot like War for the Planet of the Apes. Main character cares about his clan is taken captive, he has to go there and free his clan, and the supposed antagonist has a pretty subpar character arc. That pretty much is the exact framework for this movie as well. And I came to the end of this movie feeling like nothing huge really happened. Basically, this movie just was introducing Noah and setting itself up for a sequel. There was no substance in this plot other than the beginning and the end. But the story in this one for me was not that entertaining. So for me, plot gets a thumbs down. 2 is family friendliness. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes is rated PG-13. There's a very mild bit of profanity, a mild bit of violence, and a couple intense moments. That's about it. There wasn't a ton in this movie, and I don't feel like they went overboard on anything. So because of some of the violence and the runtime, user discretion, but for me, family friendliness gets a 50-50. 3 is acting and script. I thought the acting and script of this movie were fine. I've seen a lot of videos of the motion capture and the actors behind the scenes doing these parts, and it is fascinating and takes really good acting skills to do. But for me, acting-wise, there weren't really any standout characters in this film. I will say though that I was most excited to see Kevin Durand and Freya Allan in this movie, and they both were barely in it. If your 2 headlining actors are barely in a 2.5-hour movie, you know that there's a problem. Script-wise, I liked Peter McCann as Raka. I liked his dialogue with Noah and the brief interactions that they had with May. For me, acting and script weren't the issues of this movie other than the exclusion of its most interesting characters, which is a bummer because there were bright spots in the film that made this movie better. And if they had a better story, then they could have complemented the whole film. So for me, acting and script get a 50-50. 4 is character development. For as long as this movie is, there were quite a few opportunities for character development, and I feel like we didn't get that much. Even with Noah, most of what you experience is just character progression. When he meets up with Raka, you do get to see him learn the ways of Caesar and what was truly meant by that, and that kind of slightly changes his perspective on humankind, but not enough for you to feel like there was any real character development there, which again would have added an element to this movie that would have made it better. May isn't in this movie enough for you to care about, and even if you could, you have no idea who she is for the entire movie. Even at the end of the film, you still don't really know exactly who she is. And that goes for the antagonist as well. For the most part, these movies have had antagonists that are pretty easy to just throw away and forget about. Except for Koba. I thought he was actually pretty good. But in this movie, Proximus is almost a non-factor. He's barely in the movie. You get to understand his ideology and how he twists the words of Caesar to kind of fit what he's doing. But that whole element of the movie didn't really make a ton of sense. It just was interesting conceptually. But he's a pretty terrible villain. And his arc is pathetic. So while this movie's intention was to set up Noah as the main character of the franchise moving forward, they didn't develop his character that much for me to care. So for me, character development gets a thumbs down. 5 is visuals and CGI. This area of these movies has always been absolutely fantastic, both with the motion capture that the actors and actresses do, but the CGI as well. It is absolutely seamless, and it's very entertaining visually. It also leads to multiple intense moments in the film that if the CGI was worse would have taken you right out of the movie. But because you're believing everything you see on screen, it's pretty intense and adds some really cool moments to the film. So for me, visuals and CGI get a thumbs up. And 6 is rewatchability. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes clocks in at just under 2.5 hours long, and you definitely feel every minute of this movie. This movie is incredibly slow, and that doesn't bother me. What does is the real lack of substance and characters in the film. When you're missing all of the important content and things that just add depth to the movie, then slow movies bother me because there's nothing going on and it's just boring. And that was this movie. It kind of followed the framework of a TV show where the overarching theme is touched on at the beginning and the end. All the in-between during that episode is just filler. That's what this movie felt like, and that's why I didn't enjoy it very much. If I was ever binge watching these movies, I would question whether or not to watch this one again, because not much really happens in it. So for me, rewatchability gets a 50-50. With all these areas considered, I have to give Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes a 6 out of 10. This movie had some humorous moments, some really awesome motion capture and CGI and visuals, and some good acting with a pretty well-written script. But this movie lacked character development, completely missed the mark with depth in a plot, and neglected its most interesting characters, including the main antagonist. Some of the concepts of this movie are interesting, but I hope they do something better than this moving forward, because honestly, this movie was a bit of a snooze fest. So with all that in mind, if you enjoy the Planet of the Apes movies, you might enjoy going to see this one simply for the visual effects. But if you're hoping for a really good story and some action, you're not going to find that in this film, and you might want to wait till it comes out on DVD. Thank you so much for watching. If you've seen Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. As always, I appreciate your love and support, and I'll catch you guys and gals in the next one.